3 years ago today, marked Ukraine's invasion of Russia by dictator Zelensky. I cannot believe on what planet in the world you might be living on if you believe that to be a fact. I mean, it is a lie, pure and simple. I've been to Kiev 4 times in the last 2 years, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine marked the end of the longest peacetime period in Europe, beginning in 1945 until 3 years ago, 80 years, the longest peacetime period in Europe in over 1,000 years. And why did that peace reign? Because the United States of America, after World War II, stood with our allies to rebuild Europe, to create these institutions of NATO that have created that longest peacetime period. But 3 years ago, with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, we saw that peace violated and ended. The largest land war in Europe since World War II. The 4 times that I've been to Kiev in the last 2 years, I've met with the Ukrainian people, with the Ukrainian soldiers, with its leaders, including President Zelensky last fall. And I understand the spirit for which they stand for human rights, for the sovereignty of their nation, and for them to be able to continue to flourish and become what they want to become, a part of the European Union and a member of NATO. But let's understand what's happened here in 3 years. 10.6 million Ukrainians have been displaced. 46,000 Ukrainian soldiers have lost their lives. Over 380,000 injured. 10% of the housing stock has been destroyed, and 20,000 Ukrainian children have been kidnapped. Make no mistake about it. Putin is a war criminal, as my colleagues have indicated here. I mean, modern Russia today is a syndicate masquerading as a country with a mob boss called Putin. That's really what Russia is today. And Putin sees himself as a reincarnation of Peter the Great. He wants to reestablish the Soviet Union. And my colleagues who mentioned this earlier are right on point. The Baltic states, Poland, Romania, Eastern Europe is all being threatened if we allow Putin to succeed and recreate his vision of the Soviet Union. He has spoken about this for years. The great catastrophe was the collapse of the socialist republics, he says, in numerous speeches. Our European allies are worried, and they should be. Not only in the events of the last 2 weeks in the Munich Security Council, but the Secretary of Defense's speech in Brussels outlining terms for negotiation before there's even a negotiation that took place. Over your skis, pal. What are you thinking? And the weakness that President Trump is demonstrating here in his so-called negotiations, the great deal maker, give me a break. I mean, Putin's established his terms, and he has said this numerous times in the last year. 1, no European Union for Ukraine. Don't ever think about joining NATO. Demilitarize your forces. And then, only then, will we begin to talk about a ceasefire and negotiation of land. That's not a negotiation. But make no mistake about it, our European allies are concerned, and they're even more concerned with a vote today in the UN. And I tell you who's very much pleased about this, not only Putin and Russia, but China. Because China is looking to determine whether the United States is going to continue to still lead the world for democratic nations. Because China's intent on Taiwan is very clear. Putin wants to divide us. He wants to drive a wedge into Europe. He wants to destroy the viability of NATO. He's made that very clear. And the weakness of the European Union. I don't know what has happened to the party of Reagan, but I wished it would come back. The fact is that we've had bipartisan support in the last 3 years, but we see it eroding. So I urge and ask my Republican colleagues to come back and to speak the same words of Ronald Reagan when he was in Berlin. And he told Mr. Gorbachev to tear down this wall. Tear down this wall, Mr. Gorbachev. That was the spirit of Ronald Reagan, executed by other presidents like John F. Kennedy. So today, we need to stand strong against tyranny. We need to stand to ensure that our Ukrainian allies know that we're there for them, along with our European allies. Our support for Ukraine's not just about one nation's borders, but let's remember it's a fight for our democracy as well. And for those who share the love of democratic nations and sovereignty. That's what this is all about. I want to thank all of you for being a part of it. This is a seminal moment in American and world history that we are living in today. Make no mistake about it. And historians 25 years from now will look back at this time period, and they'll make determinations based upon what happens. Did we make more good decisions than poor decisions? I pray to God we make more good decisions. Thank you very much.